Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 186 of the ARC Junkies Podcast. Today I'm talking with Ryan Arnone out of Nevada about the cool custom trikes that he builds for off-road bike riding. We talk about his process of welding out aluminum and magnesium. But before we get into the show, a quick word from today's supporters. Today's episode of the ARC Junkies Podcast is brought to you by Fronius USA. And right now, they're running their Dip into Summer promo, where you can get an instant $600 rebate when you buy a Magic Wave 230i in either air-cooled or water-cooled, along with a Bluetooth accessory. You can choose from the Visor Connect welding helmet or the wireless foot pedal. The Fronius Magic Wave 230i AC/DC air-cooled TIG machine is another huge step forward in the welding industry. Fronius brings their state-of-the-art welding technology to a brand new AC/DC air-cooled TIG welder. Every time Fronius comes out with a new machine, a new standard is set and the world of welding takes a huge technological leap forward. This machine is no exception to that, and we know you'll be impressed. The Dip into Summer sales promo is only available now until September 30th, so you still have time to take advantage of this awesome deal. We're also brought to you by Rockmount Research and Alloys. Rockmount makes some of the coolest electrodes you never knew existed. Check out their website, rockmountwelding.com, and review their full list of consumables to include specialty welding rods and wires for dissimilar metals, cast steels and cast irons, special alloys, and even rods for unidentifiable steels. They also have a full line of hard-facing and surfacing products to protect, rebuild, and repair all of those attachments to keep them from wearing down. And while you're there, check out their section of burr bits, grinding discs, drill bits, and saw blades. And now, Rockmount's made it even easier to get their products delivered to your business. Hop on over to mscdirect.com and purchase your Rockmount products directly through their website and get free shipping on all orders of the Rockmount products. We're also brought to you by Everlast Welders. Everlast makes machines to fit every budget and every skill level. It doesn't matter if you're new to welding or you've been doing this stuff for 20 years. Everlast has a machine that's right for you. Whether you're into stick, MIG, or TIG, or even if you're looking for a solid multi-process machine because you do a little bit of everything, or maybe you just need a new torch, or you're looking to get a wireless foot pedal for a machine you already have. Everlast has you covered. They even offer financing on some of their equipment with approved credit. You can get your side hustle up and going today with a new Lightning MTS 225 and a plasma cutter. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to everlastwelders.com today and pick up your next or first machine. And as always, if you buy any machine that comes with a stock foot pedal, use the code word ARCJunkies in the comment section at checkout and get that free Nova foot pedal and TIG torch upgrade. We're also brought to you by the Step Wedge. The Step Wedge was created by Jameson Burt, a triple-ticketed journeyman in the pipe trades and inventor and patent holder of the Step spatterproof wedges. He's a Canadian and he's dedicated to manufacturing high-quality and innovative tools for the pipe welding industry. Step wedges are available in 3 sizes, 4-inch, 6-inch, and 8-inch, so you can handle any gap on that print. The step wedges are incremental, so you can handle gaps from 3/32 all the way up to a 1/4 inch. And for my friends across the pond in the UK and Australia, they also carry a metric step wedge as well. Each flat surface on the step wedge is machined to 0.005 of an inch tolerance and made from hardened stainless steel, so it won't contaminate your exotic alloys. The spatterproof wedge is plasma nitride carbon steel, making these wedges nearly indestructible. And right now, Step Wedge has a great deal for listeners of the ARC Junkies podcast. When you buy any step wedge, use code word ARCJunkies at checkout and you can get 10% off your order. Head on over to gapandtack.com right now and take advantage of this great deal. That's gapandtack.com. Wedges made for professionals. Alright everyone, with FabTech right around the corner, I wanted to give you all some information on some cool events you don't want to miss out on. On Sunday, September 12th, from 7 p.m. to 12 p.m., the FabTech 2021 Welcome Back Meet and Greet, hosted by Blue Demon, Weldporn, Outlaw Leather, Fronius, Alumareel, and FlameTech, will be held at the Hard Rock Cafe in Chicago. On Tuesday afternoon, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., you can stop by the CK Worldwide booth for their Meet Their Pros event. And then on Tuesday evening, from 6 to 9, you can join myself and Stephanie Hoffman at Arcs and Ales, hosted by the American Welding Society at the Northman Beer and Cider Garden. You can RSVP for this event by going to pages.aws.org/Arcs and Ales. And then you can join me Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at the AWS booth 30 minutes after the show opens for a live episode of the ARC Junkies podcast, followed by a meet and greet. Joining me Monday, I'm going to have the weld scientist Nate Bowman. On Tuesday, I'll be chatting with Rush Kane from Kane Industries, and then on Wednesdays, I'll be chatting it up with Sean Flotman, aka Dabs Wellington. Right after the recording, we'll have a session for a meet and greet. I'll see y'all in Chicago. All right, you know what time it is. Fire up your machines, drop your hood, and turn me up 5.
You're listening to the ARC Junkies Podcast. Helping you make every weld better than your last with each episode. And now your host, Jason Becker.
All right, Ryan, so what's going on, man?
Not too much. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on the podcast, share a little bit about your experience. I know you're heavily into aluminum TIG. It looks like, just scanning through your Instagram profile, and you build some badass bikes, dude.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, they're real cool. We make them for guys with disabilities and injuries and everything. So it's a real rewarding job to do.
Yeah, I've seen there's a company down here in Florida called Cat Trike, but they do it's kind of like an incumbent bicycle. So you still pedal with your feet, but I see yours, the one you're building, it's completely different. So you pedal with your hands. So I guess you have people that are either paralyzed or loss of limbs. They're able to operate the upper portion.
Exactly. So how the company came about, the owner's in a wheelchair, and he was getting into mountain biking and everything, and he wanted to be able to go out and everything with his brother. So he designed this bike, and it's exploded. I mean, they're super popular. So the first of its kind with the suspension model that we do.
And what kind of gear ratio is it? Is it like a 21 speed or 10 speed, or how's that?
It all depends on what they order. So most of them will run at 11 speeds, and then with electric motor. So there's no derailleur up top. So it's a fixed gear up top, and then it's running down on just a basic mountain bike wheel.
Okay. And you said there's also a motor on it as well?
Yeah, so there's options to get a 750 watt or 1,000 watt. A lot of them are 1,000 watts. I mean, it's a slight charge to go up, but some countries don't allow that much wattage on the bicycle. So we have the smaller units also.
Okay, so you guys sell them internationally?
Yeah, these go all across the world. We have a lot of riders in Europe and Britain. I mean, they go everywhere.
That's really cool. I always love seeing that people with like disabilities still getting out to being able to do like normal stuff like mountain biking. The video I watched the other day. I mean, you had one going through Red Rock, which my dumbass, I'm thinking like Red Rock out in Colorado, that like the amphitheater, and you're like, no, Red Rock, Nevada. And I was like, oh, okay. But I mean, you guys are hitting like 24 miles an hour on these things. That's pretty damn quick off road on a essentially a tricycle.
Exactly. I mean, if you get going downhill, it's hard to keep up with these guys on a two-wheel bike. I mean, there's times they're hitting 40 miles an hour. I mean, it gets sketchy on a two-wheel, especially if you ain't a professional mountain biker.
Right.
So
now the owner of the company, you said this was his design, these trikes or tricycles. I mean, what do you guys refer to them as?
We call them hand cycles.
Okay. And so this whole concept was his idea as far as like putting it together because he was like into mountain biking, or what?
Well, he was injured when he was younger, and he first started out with wheelchairs. We build a lot of magnesium wheelchairs, and he did that just for how he wanted his chair. He wanted them lighter, make himself more independent of needing help. I mean, we'd make them for the beach. You could roll yourself up onto the beach, and then the biking came in. He lived in Alaska, so there was a lot of open terrain out there, and he wanted to be able to get out and see stuff. So he came up with this design, and like I said, it's just took off over the last couple of years. He's been doing it for 10 years now, and I think the first FS model, which is the full suspension, was introduced 6 years ago. Okay.
And how long have you been working for the company?
I've been here 5 years. I've only been a welder for 3.5.
Okay. And how'd you get into welding?
Well, I worked at a wheel repair place, and they also owned a body shop, and my dad was the body shop manager there. And there was times I would have to bring them wheels to weld up if there was too much gouge in there, if there was a crack or something like that. And for body men, they work on a flagged hour. So when they get an estimate, it says, hey, here's 10 hours. This is what you get paid for the job. No matter if it take you 6 or 13. Mm-hmm. So he kind of got irritated and have to weld the wheels coming off and everything. He was just like, hey, I'm going to show you. I had no interest in welding at the time. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I guess I'll do it $10 for a wheel. Why not? So how I learned was I sat on a wheel and he would just listen and be like, oh, art gap or just something. Hey, get it closer. Do this, do that. And I was running an old Seeker Wave, I don't know, from maybe 77, 78. And this job came up. So I applied. And the first time I came in, they were running Dynasties. And he was running about 200 hertz or something. And I went and jumped on and it scared the shit out of me. I didn't know what I did because I was so used to that low.
Yeah, 60 hertz.
And the high frequency. I was like, dude, what the hell is this about? So, I mean, I botched the interview. It went horrible. I went home and I was like, man, I really messed that up. So about a month went by and they ended up calling me back and say, hey, we filled the welder spot, but we do have an assembly thing. I was like, you know, it was a cool product they were making. I was like, yeah, why not? I'll jump into it. So a year down the road, the other welder had other plans and took off. So they threw me into the position. And I mean, I got lucky. I worked with an older guy from aerospace and he just taught me the fundamentals of welding.
Okay.
So about 2 years goes by and I never messed with settings, nothing. I just did what he showed me. And I ended up getting on Instagram and seeing all these other dudes welds. And I mean, I just started feeding that weld urge. And I ended up linking up with Mark Winchester and he really opened my eyes to what settings and torch setups and everything can do. And from there, I've just been trying to perfect it.
Well, it looks like, just judging from your profile, you're doing a pretty damn good job at perfecting it, man. I mean, your stuff is on point. You do aluminum and magnesium, right?
Yeah, the main frame of the bike is magnesium.
Okay, so
all the suspension is 60-61.
Okay, so walk me through the process of, like, how do you dial in your machine, setting up the difference between aluminum and magnesium? Magnesium isn't something I've had the opportunity to weld on yet.
Okay, it's real close. I mean, the settings for aluminum and magnesium is extremely close. But with magnesium, obviously you want a little more clean action because when you weld it, a bunch of zinc pops up and it leaves just black crud on the weld. But the weld puddle itself is fairly clean. It's just the aftermath of it. So, like I said, it's real similar to aluminum, but when you're welding it, you want an arc gap that is damn near touching the puddle. I mean, the puddle's running away from it instead of trying to jump up to the tungsten like aluminum would.
Really?
So you're kind of dragging it through the puddle, and you really got to kind of pedal pulse it because the stuff heats up and cools down so quick compared to aluminum. And also there's the fire hazard. You know what I mean? If you do too much, you're going to light something up, which isn't good. So
have you ever lit a piece on fire of it?
No, but I have seen coworkers do it, and it's not a pretty sight. I mean, it when it lights up, it's like staring into the sun. It's a bright light coming off that.
And how do you guys?
There's a special fire extinguisher, Class D, which kind of just globs out and suffocates it, or you throw lead chips or sand on it and just try to get the oxygen from it from burning.
Okay.
So, the tube itself isn't extremely flammable. It's all the grinding dust and all that stuff is what will light up real quick, which, I mean, we build these things from scratch. So we have a ton of dust and we constantly sweep throughout the day, but it's such a fine dust. It kind of hovers in the air and takes a while to actually settle. So you always got to be smart and not run a piece of steel on any of our grinders, anything like that. It's just you have to be real smart about it.
Yeah, try to avoid making any sparks. That's so like in the Marines, we had thermite grenades, and that's magnesium's one of the key ingredients in there. Is there's several ingredients. There's iron powder, and then there's magnesium and stuff like that. But that's pretty much what causes that accelerated burn rate. And you could set that on top of a Humvee block and pull the pin and walk away, and it'll burn like a 4-inch hole all the way through the engine. Yeah,
I mean, I've had. If I was welding, I was kind of welding off a bad angle and had some of the actual filler rod melt down. Mm-hmm. It comes off in fire. I mean, it'll go right through your pans. When it hits the ground, it kind of explodes.
Damn.
So, there's a like I said, you're dragging that tungsten. If it ever does actually get on the tungsten, if you snap your wrist real quick, you can flick it off, and it's like shooting a little rocket across the shop. So got to be real careful with it.
You ever flick it back by your coworker and stuff, and just launch little magnesium balls at each other?
Yeah, sometimes you're trying to save that tungsten, and I kind of flick it off. Sometimes it hits the screen, or sometimes it goes out towards him, and I mean it is what it is.
Right. So do you change your pulse settings or anything like that, or frequency, or?
I run all pedal. I don't do any pulse because we have so many different tubing sizes coming in and everything, and it's just it's really hard to dial in a pulse on the magnesium, like I said, because it gets so hot and so quick. You kind of want to just feather it yourself. Frequency, I jump between the two. I want to stabilize the arc more because when you weld magnesium, super erratic. It kind of jumps around and it catches where it wants. So I run a higher frequency there on that. The balance, I usually stay around the same balance on them, depending if I get like a piece of tool plate or for like the water jetted parts, those run a little different than actual tubing does.
Okay.
So I'll change it there slightly, but it's not much.
Is like the prep work and initial cleanup and everything very similar to aluminum? Like hit it with a wire brush, or do you guys use any acetone or anything like that?
Yeah, I acetone wipe everything. It's something I've found out really helps the puddle. I mean, you don't see that trail of crap just kind of floating around in there, and I think it gives a better look.
Okay. When
you actually wipe it down. And then if I use any kind of abrasive, like a grinding wheel or any kind of Scotch-Brite, I'll always go back over with a hand file or deburr and actually get back to real clean, fresh aluminum or magnesium.
Okay. That's you get how do they tell the difference between the aluminum and the magnesium? Because they're very similar in like weight and looks and all that stuff.
Well, the magnesium is actually about, I don't know, maybe 2/3 less of weight than aluminum is, but it's just as strong. I mean, from working with it, I could tell now when I pick up a piece versus which one it is. But if you weld it together, either it's going to come out looking like chrome and it's going to peel off like slag if you put aluminum onto magnesium. But if you put magnesium onto aluminum, it won't accept it. It looks like you're running bad gas.
Okay. That's pretty interesting. There's my buddy Ryan Eubank was telling me about like there's a way to do it because like I said, they're very, very similar products. You know, if you pick them up, and especially if you're not working with it all the time, is you put a little bit of vinegar on there. And vinegar will actually, so vinegar will actually it won't have a reaction at all on aluminum, but it'll have a reaction on the magnesium.
Yeah, it'll get a clouded water puddle going on in there, and it's eating away at it because there's certain processes that we found out doesn't work on aluminum or on magnesium. Like if we had something stripped, definitely can't use the acid that you use on aluminum because it will eat the magnesium right up. So it is a little more, I don't know how to really explain it. I don't think the oxide layer on it actually protects as much as aluminum does. So, and two, they both have kind of the same melting point, but the magnesium just seems to have a slight film that you can almost take off with just acetone instead of a Scotch-Brite or a wire wheel.
Okay. That's what I was wondering if the oxide layer was any different. Because like with aluminum, like the aluminum oxide, I mean, the melting temperature of that's like right around 3,600 degrees. And then with your base metal aluminum, it's around 1,200. So that's why, when people clean it, they have a hard time because you got to bust through that oxide layer first. So if you don't clean it, like by the time you finally punch through that oxide layer, everything underneath is pretty much just a molten pile of metal. Yeah, it's cooked already. Well, like I said, with the magnesium, it seems like that AC just breaks it up so quick that you don't really got to worry about it. When I do a lot of magnesium, the prep work pretty much for me is, like I said, I'll hand file pieces and then wipe down with acetone. When it comes to aluminum, I try to break up more of that oxide layer before I weld. But the magnesium, it's I don't know, it's different. Like I said, if you could weld aluminum, you could weld magnesium. It's just a matter of finding out the little quirks with it because it's a little different. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never had the opportunity to do it. I know a lot of people do like the mag wheels and stuff like that, and I've just never had a chance to mess around with it. So it's always kind of intrigued me. I know like back in the day, Diamondback used to use a lot for some of their BMX bikes and stuff like that, just because it's lightweight, harder to tear up essentially.
Yeah, and two, it's not as stiff, if that makes sense. You know, if you ride an aluminum bike, you could feel the difference between that and a steel bike. The steel has a little more give to it. The magnesium's kind of like a steel. It has a little bit of a rebound in it instead of just being a stiff, rigid frame.
So it's got like a little bit more ductility to it, so it's able to flex without breaking and kind of give a little bit.
Exactly.
There's a guy, I can't remember his name, but he does motorcycles, and he brazes everything together because the weld joints will actually allow the frame to deflect versus if you were to weld it up, it'd be a lot more rigid. And I can't remember the guy's
a lot
name.
of the hardcore like road bike guys, they'll go for a TIG brazed frame instead of actually welded because of that. So it's more of have a comfortable ride and not as bouncy.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. And I mean, like, do you own one of those bikes yourself?
No, they're kind of pricey. I mean, anything with medical equipment is up there. So I wish I could own one, but I can't.
They look like a lot of fun. So you get to ride them every year too, though, right?
Yeah, I ride them all the time. I mean, when we make one, it goes to powder coat, comes back assembled, and then we test ride it and everything before we pack it up and ship it out. And then we have a fleet of them that we have for just demos and when we do a ride and everything.
Okay, because you were talking like you were saying yesterday you do like a charity run every year.
What we do, we put on a event for previous riders, or if anybody orders a bike and it's within the time limit we could deliver to that ride, then we will. It's something the owner puts on, and it's just lets everybody get together. He pays for it and does a big ride for everybody every year in Red Rock. So, I mean, there is admission fees, but it just kind of covers the food and everything, the setup of the thing. It's not like something we make money on.
Okay. And then do you, like, when you're going through the process of building these bikes, I mean, are you just tacking them and welding them together, or do you have to go through and, like, cut and cope and prep and clean?
Yeah, these frames all come straight to. I bend them, I cope them, I fit them all up, I put them in the jig, weld them out. For a long time, I was doing the fabrication, the welding, the assembly, the packing, but we just got so busy. I actually brought my little brother on, and he's doing my fabrication work now for most part of it. So I've just been teaching him how to do it, because when COVID hit, he lost his job, and with what we're doing, being welding and medical, we were deemed essential. So
okay,
I brought him on, and I mean, he's doing all right. I mean, there's times I have to tell him, like, hey, dude, you got to tighten this shit up here or there. But I mean, he's learning. He went from being a chef to being a metal fabricator. So there's a curve. So
right. And then you kind of just went from welding up wheels and stuff to getting into this. So, like, how'd you learn how to bend and cope the tubes and all that stuff, get them to the right angles and degrees and kind of match what's on the print?
I got lucky. I got stuck with a dude from aerospace that's been a welder for shit longer than I've been alive. I don't even know exactly how long, maybe 50 years or so. And he kind of taught me everything. He's like a Swiss Army knife. The guy could do fabrication. He does machine work. He does everything in the business. So I learned everything under him, and he was real stickler about stuff. Like, if it's not done right, he's going to call you out on it. And if you kind of want to say something back, he's like, hey, all right, do it yourself. Figure it shit out. If you want to shut up and listen, and I'll show you how it's done. Right. So yeah, I just had, as the other welder was leaving, I was kind of moving into making parts for him and welding up little things here and there. And gradually I just filled the position, and I mean, it worked out for me. It worked out for the company. I really enjoy building the bikes, and because I'm the only one that does the bikes. The other guy does the wheelchairs.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, so you guys produce wheelchairs as well?
Yeah, we have a full line of wheelchairs. That's what the company started at, was wheelchairs, and then it moved into bikes, and now it's just the bikes are, like I said, they're so popular now. Everybody wants to get one.
Do you find it's more people with disabilities, or it's just able-bodied people buying them, or a mix of both?
We kind of get some people, able-bodied guys, but it's mainly wheelchair-bound guys. I mean, we do a lot of work with the VAs. We do work with what the hell is that company? Ride to Recovery is one of the VA things that we do. We do Wounded Warriors. So it's a lot of people that either lose a limb or they're actually wheelchair-bound is buying our product. But we do have every once in a while an able-bodied person coming in and getting one.
That's pretty neat, man. And you said you have different drivetrains, so you have some that pedal for feet and then some that pedal by hand?
No, it's either you're going to get it by hand with no motor assist, or you'll go through the different motor assists that you can get.
Okay.
It's all by hand. So like I said, it's more towards the disabled people than it is an able-bodied person.
Right. It looks like hell of a workout, man.
Dude, when I went out and rode with the ride to recovery guys, and I'm sitting there trying to keep up, and they're all vets and everything, so I didn't want to seem like a pussy or something. I'm going, dude, I'm puking on the side of the damn thing, riding. I'm like, man, they were giving me a hard time. I'm like, dude, you guys are in a wheelchair. You guys are using your arms every day to do this. I'm not. Dude, we're doing a 15-mile freaking ride in the mountains in Vegas. I mean, it's scorching.
Yeah.
So like I said, I was puking outside. I had after that, I had a ton of respect for what these guys are doing on these things. It really changed the perception on it. So
I will tell you though, like from a vet perspective, like if you're putting out so much that you puke, you gain massive respect for them. Because a lot of people, like we used to give people crap all the time. Like if you're not puking, you're not pushing hard enough.
Oh yeah, like I said, when we got to the end of the ride, they all came up and were like, "Oh yeah, man, you kept up. You didn't pussy out." So I was like, "All right, cool." I mean, it felt good. And then too, to do stuff like that for guys to actually see them get out and be independent out on a trail. I mean, it brightens up their life a ton.
Yeah.
Like when we deliver these bikes, it's awesome. So
that's got to give yourself, like some sense of pride and everything when you're putting these things together to know, not just like as a welder or, as a fabricator, but like knowing that your product that you're putting out has a purpose. You're not just building some random widget, you're not another cog in a wheel. You're building a product for an end user, and it's essentially life-changing because, I mean, getting outdoors and everything, it's very therapeutic. It helps people with PTSD. It helps them with confidence and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's, like I said, it's the greatest feeling to actually deliver a bike in person. It just watching them roll around in the parking lot, even though it's not much. I mean, we tell them, hey, jump up this curb, do this and everything, but just watching them get into it, and it's awesome. I mean, we make a carrier that goes on the back of the racks of those things, so you could throw your wheelchair in the back and take off. And I mean, go do what you want. The downside of it is if they're going out by themselves and they roll it, and I mean, they're kind of stuck. So we usually tell them, hey, ride with a buddy, someone that can help you out, get out of something if you get into it. But for the most part, the guys are pretty smart. They know what they can and can't do.
Right.
So, because everybody's injury is different. I mean, some people have no core muscles. Some people can't use their right hand, or even if they don't have a right hand. So we make a lot of adaptations and stuff like that for them.
That's pretty. So you guys have custom build it per the customer specs.
Yeah, to a limit. I mean, the bike itself, the frame and everything's usually the same. But if they need a different kind of brake setup or a custom-made brake, the custom-made heel slings for where their legs go, stuff like that, or if you need a bigger backrest. But the frame itself is a consistent piece.
Okay. What's like the overall weight on one of these things?
So if it's a fully loaded bike with a motor, they're around, I don't know, 80, 90 pounds. Okay. So we put some big tires on them. And I mean, they have 3 shocks, they have 3 brakes. There's a lot of mass to these bikes, and the motors themselves are 30 pounds. But a frame by itself is 8.5 pounds. And then with the suspension and everything, that comes up to around 35 or so without tires.
Okay.
So a lot of it's the add-on pieces that actually bring weight to the bike.
Okay, so like the motor, suspension, all the other accessories, they have to go on there?
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, the tires, sometimes these tire sets are just as much as the frame weighs.
Okay.
So, and that's kind of why we went to the motored option, so that you don't get stuck going up a hill or something and you have to go back down. Gave you this boost, and it also has a throttle on it, so you don't have to pedal. You could kind of just hit your throttle and
just kind of
run with your thumb. Yeah. So, and then it has a assist option where you're cranking and the power will get input by the motor depending on how hard you're cranking.
Okay. And how long do you think it took you to get like to the level you are now with welding? I mean, have you noticed, like, was there anything that kind of gave you like a big change in like your technique or anything like that?
When I went out and visited Mark for the first time, it really changed my perception on it. I mean, he showed me what tuning the machine can do, different cups, different grinds on your tungsten. That really opened my eyes, because at first, for the first 2 years, like I said, I just tucked my head down and did it the way I was shown.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I went into the owner's office and was like, "Hey, do you care if I do this?" And he's like, "Dude, you're the welder. You tell me if it works." So, and as soon as he did that, he kind of gave me free range on it, and I just ran with it.
Okay. So what are you picking, like, as far as your cups?
I run in between a 4 to 6. So depending on what piece I'm welding, what kind of gap I have, I'll go with my cup size to that. The magnesium, I usually run the 6. It seems to like a little more coverage up on it. Aluminum, I usually run in a 5. Sometimes I'll jump down to a 4 depending on what I'm welding. But I use standard cups on all of it.
Okay, so you're just using like a regular standard diffuser setup.
Yeah, the gas lens, if you try to weld magnesium with that, you have one ruined gas lens after a couple passes. I mean, it clogs it right up.
I would imagine,
and
like,
then
with
the
off
aluminum,
gas and all that zinc.
Yeah, I mean, it comes off very smooty. It's, like I said, sometimes every once in a while I'll get a weld and it comes out pristine clean. I don't know why it did it, but it does. And then other times they're just covered in the zinc burn off. So.
Okay. And then, like, what thicknesses are you messing around with on the aluminum?
Aluminum, I'm all the way from 0.58 wall to 1/4 inch. And then the billet pieces, obviously, they're solid billet. Mm-hmm. So they're about 1 inch.
Damn. So, like, you're welding 1 inch piece to the tube at some point?
Yeah. And we run a helium mixture to be able to punch it through there. I was going to
ask if you change your gas mix on that at all.
Yeah, when the helium shortage happened out here, we took it big because the Air Force Base, they get priority over everything. So they were getting most of the helium. So we tried out, what's that? It's a Praxair thing, Stargon.
I was going to say Stargon, yeah.
Yeah, and it worked, but you had to run a gas lens, and some spots I'm welding, I just can't get a gas lens down into. And it didn't work for our application. Like I said, when welding the magnesium, that gas lens is trash after a couple passes. And then we went down to regular argon, which it worked, but I did a ton of preheating. And I was just preheating parts, and it was taking time. So luckily we were able to get that helium mixture back, and that's what we run. So.
Okay. Like what percentage of helium versus argon are you typically running on, like, the 1 inch piece?
We're doing 75-25.
Okay. So 75% argon, 25% helium?
Yep. So it burns pretty damn hot. So there's times I'll still do a quick preheat where I just kind of wick off the moisture. Mm-hmm. I mean, because sometimes I think that helps with any kind of porosity or anything. So I'll wick that off, but I run that helium mixture, and it like I said, it makes a 210 amp machine feel like it's running at 300. So
yeah. You can weld some pretty thick stuff with it.
Yeah, definitely. When you jump down to regular argon, you'll tell the difference of what that helium's doing. I mean, it's pricey as hell, but it definitely, and it cleans up the puddle a ton too. You could just tell the difference when you have some helium mixture in there. Really?
Does it give like a shinier appearance once it's done?
Yeah, and it's so clean, and the puddle's fluid, and it like I said, when you weld with it, especially when you have that much helium in there, it's just a clean, nice puddle to work with. So,
all right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. This segment of the Arc Junkies podcast is brought to you by AHP Welders, which are ideal machines for students, home hobbyists, makers, and those looking to learn on their own. You can get into stick, MIG, or TIG welding right now for under $1,000 without having to sacrifice performance. I've used these machines several times in the past, and they perform great. Get your AHP machine today at ahpwelds.com. We're also brought to you by Strong Hand Tools. Just hop on over to stronghandtools.com/ArcJunkies and check out all the cool, awesome equipment and tools they have to make your life as a fabricator more accurate and faster. We all know time is money, and accuracy is key. So start using some tools that'll help you get more accurate and increase your time in your shop life. Stop by stronghandtools.com/ArcJunkies and check out all the cool tools and innovations they have to make your life as a welder and a fabricator that much easier. All right, now let's get back into the show. What diameter and type of tungsten are you kind of prone to? I know everybody's kind of got like their special sauce or their favorite type of tungsten and stuff, but you partial one brand over another or one diameter over another?
Yeah. I run laser. I run 332nd on everything. The CK laser I found seems like the machines like it. There was, I don't know if I was running serrated. One of the tungsten I was running before, it kept splitting. So I don't know if I was dumping too much heat through it and it couldn't hold it. But that CK stuff that's some killer stuff.
I've noticed that on the gray serrated, and I've told people in the past, like if you can come across, it's hard to find, but it's an orange band serrated. And I don't know what the difference is because I've never really seen the pack. I've never seen the label on it or paid attention to it. But I've noticed a huge difference between the orange and the gray band.
Yeah, maybe it's like 1.5% on the orange band, because I think the 2% is what we have here. It's a gray band.
Whatever it is, it's a huge difference.
Oh, yeah, it does. Like I said, I went through and I was trying a bunch of different tungstens, and I just happened to settle on the CK stuff, and it works great for me.
That's the one that's a green band, right? I haven't tried that one out yet.
Yeah, like a they call it chartreuse brand or
chartreuse.
Something. I don't know what the hell you got.
Yeah, it's
kind of
like
a little funky green, lime colored one.
Yeah, that's my favorite color is lime green, man. Lime green and black. I mean,
there you go.
It's a good color
So
scheme.
like I said, yeah, and it holds a point. For a long time, I was actually still balling tungsten because, like I said, when I learned on that sinker wave, I was running pure and a huge ball.
Mm-hmm.
So there was times for a long time I would keep a ball on it. Now I sharpen it to a point and then I ball it out just slightly.
Okay.
And it seems to hold the arc and the amperage a lot better than splitting. And then if it balls out too much and gets too much of a fan going on, I'll switch the tungsten out.
Now, what machine you operating on now?
I run a 280DX Dynasty at the shop.
We just got a bunch of those in for the school. You like them?
Yeah, I mean, it took a crap with an hour and a half on it. So
damn,
now
that's not good news.
Yeah,
I just bought 5 of them
today. Yeah, we had to send it out, so it's under warranty, so that's all right. So right now I'm running the 210 again, but I love the machine. They're awesome. I think they have a real good arc on them and everything, and it's just that I grew up using the Miller, and that's kind of what I did. So what? But I mean, there is other machines out there that are, I mean, people are laying down great beads with those too. So.
Yeah, it's user preference, and what your budget can afford, and what you've got access to, and I mean, there's 1,000 different factors. I get people that ask me all the time, and it's like you got to ask a lot of questions because one size doesn't necessarily fit all.
Oh yeah, I mean, if it was my personal stuff, I probably wouldn't have a Dynasty. I mean, let's be real, I don't have enough money to dump it out. I mean, I got the Everlast 255 at the house, and I think that's a great machine.
How's that running? It
took me a little while to. Go ahead.
How's that running for you?
It took me a while to figure out the arc start. It had a little different from going from Miller to that, but I was able to tune it up, and I think it runs great. I mean, I ran it all last weekend, running parts, and it did real good.
Okay, I got the 255 EXT, and that thing runs like a top, man.
Yeah,
I haven't done much aluminum on it yet.
I think it's super slick. I really enjoyed it. It took me a minute, though, to realize that when I turned the machine off, it defaulted back to settings because I wasn't saving anything. So I would keep trying to fire up, and I'm like, dude, what the hell did I do to the machine? And then I went through and I was like, oh, it's defaulting. So I had to go and save my settings. And after that, it runs. It does the job.
Right. Especially
for the cost of those machines. I mean, they're pretty damn killer.
Yeah. What kind of side work are you doing at the house?
I mean, I just take in general repair. I make mini bikes and drift trikes and stuff like that. So I got a full little fabrication shop in my garage.
I see that. It looks like you got a lot of deer that hang out on your property too, man. Like when I think Nevada, I don't think trees. It looks like you got some trees in your backyard.
Yeah, I mean, there's trees here and there. They're trying to get everybody to change to this desert landscaping for water usage and whatever other crap they're trying to feed everybody. But you get up to the mountains, I mean, it's a completely different scene. You'll be driving through and brushed, and the next thing you know, it's pine trees and snow. So it's different.
That's going back to your drift trike. That's one thing that I've been wanting to build for a while, and I just never have the time. It's something that's like, okay, I can build it at the school with the students, and then I never get time, and now I'm in the office most of the time, so I don't get time. And it's like, well, that'd be something cool to do at the house, and it's like, shit, I never have time at the house. But do you put the the PVC tires on the back?
Yeah, that's kind of a big scene out here. They have like little mini bike Sunday or something where they drive up and down one of the roads out here, and it's a big thing. I mean, the drift trikes really are pretty damn simple. There's a lot of guys that'll bring me just a cut up bike, and they're like, "Hey, will you put a back end on this?" Okay, all right, whatever. Mm-hmm. So a lot of it's box tubing. It's nothing too complicated. I ended up getting a jig for a motorcycle to do it all on, though. So just carrying over the work I do here to making a mini bike. And my dad kind of got me into it, and he always tries to tell me, "Hey, Ryan, it's just a damn mini bike." Like, yeah, but it's the mini bike I'm making.
Yeah.
So sometimes he'll get me because I'll get too critical, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna go. Like I said, it's a mini bike, and I'll let this little thing slide here or there. So
I've watched videos where they got like 6 or 7 guys, like holding onto a piece of rope, and each one of them's on their own trike, and they pull it down the street in a van, and it looks like it's done out in California. And as the van takes a right, straight ahead is a hill, and they just start letting go of this rope one by one, and they go down this massive hill. But they don't have motors on the back, and they're like spinning and doing 360s the whole way, and kind of drifting side to side, and it looks like a lot of freaking fun.
Yeah, once you put the PVC tires on it, if you've got a motor, you ain't going straight. That thing it does circles is all it does. So, I mean, then the guys, like I said, they'll come out and just go to little parking lots and do it. I do pit bikes for like guys at car shows and shit, just to kind of cruise through the pits. And like I said, I just do any kind of work that comes into the garage. I'll try to do. If I can't, I'll tell you like, hey man, I can't do that here.
Right. What kind of motors are you putting on the back of them?
A lot of these guys are running the Harbor Freight Predators.
That's the answer I wanted to hear, because that's the one I want to get.
Yeah. I mean, $100 to get I think they're 221, I think. Pretty sure. Yeah, I think it's 221 is the size that a lot of guys are riding. I mean, there's the diehard guys that come in with the Briggs & Strattons and these flat tops. Like I just did one for a guy on a drag bike, and he's using an engine out of a junior dragster, full alcohol or whatever the hell it runs on. I was like, dude, you want me to put some wheelie bars? And the first thing he said, I don't need the bitch bars. I'm gonna ride it like this.
Jeez.
Okay, dude, if that's what you want to do,
I used to run it. When I first moved in my house, my neighbor down the road, he's like a big gearhead, and literally the first day I met him, he's driving around on a motorized bar stool. Like pulls up to my house, like welcome me to the neighborhood. He's on a bar stool with a freaking motor on it, little built-in cooler on the bottom. Well, we got to know each other for a while, and I was working. That's back when I was doing like structural work and stuff like that. So I was working over at the airport over in Melbourne. Well, he knew I was working at the airport. We were doing a bunch of jobs out there, doing just installing all kinds of freaking the airplane hangars and all that, welding all the doors in and shit. And he pulled up and he's like, "Hey man, can you get me some avgas?" I was like, "Avgas." At the time, I was like, "Dude, that's like $6 a gallon. What the hell are you gonna run on avgas?" And he's like, "My lawnmower." And I was like, "What the fuck? You're going to blow your lawnmower up?" And he's like, "No, you got to see this thing." And I was like, "All right." And he's like, "Get me 5 gallons of avgas and then come down to the house. You got to check this out." Done, dude. I went to work, come back the next day, brought him a gas can full of avgas. He's got a lawnmower down there that's chopped and lowered. It'll do 65 miles an hour. This thing's insane. It's got a kill switch on the freaking on the steering wheel, and it's just out of this world. It probably sits like 2 inches off the ground. It's got the cart tires and everything on it, and he'll just freaking smoke it, dude. 65 mile an hour. It's insane.
Yeah, some of these guys, I've rode the mini bikes here and there, and I'm not looking forward to going that fast, that high off the ground. I mean, for me, I'll build them. Yeah, they're cool and everything, but you guys go and hot rod them up and down the street.
Right. Have you built your own trike yet?
Go ahead.
Have you built your own drift trike yet?
No, I've repaired a couple. I've built 3 or 4. And like I said, I got into these mini bikes about 6 months ago, and I just my dad works with the guy that was really into them, and my dad was like, "Hey Ryan, could you make this?" And I was like, "Yeah, shit, why not?" So, and then it just kind of grew from there, and now I'm just kind of making them here and there. Eventually, I'm gonna make an aluminum framed one. I don't think anybody's doing that yet, so we got all the stock and everything for it. It's just a matter of getting to it when I have the downtime.
Right. I was going to ask you, do you does your employer, would they mind like if you went in there and like if you bought your own material, like went in there and started using their benders and their copers and all that stuff?
Oh, well, I have a bender, coper, everything in my garage.
Oh, damn. So yeah, you got like a full scale fab shop.
Yeah, I mean, we ended up getting, like I said, a motorcycle jig, and we build it all there. So it's it's been a fun process besides working in the garage in Vegas. I mean, sometimes it's getting 110 degrees and the swamp cooler ain't helping enough. So there's a little down period right now in it, but I do what I can during the night and everything and get some out.
You guys get pretty cool evenings around there, like as far as like temperature wise and stuff?
Like right now, no, it's still 90 degrees at night. I mean, it's pretty gross. So, and it's the dry heat. I mean, I know Florida you got that moisture to it, and I don't know what I prefer more, if it's that dry, stale fucking heat or
take that dry, stale heat, dude. Because like, it's funny because like I travel all the time. Like I'll go up to Ohio. I've been out to Des Moines, Houston, all that stuff. California. Every time I come back to Florida, as soon as they open the door on the plane and I walk off, it's like fuck. Everything's it's sticky. Yeah, it's just sticky. The humid's just it's nasty. Humidity sucks.
Yeah,
I don't know why
I went out to Houston, I think it was, for an expo, and it was pretty wet out there. I mean, it felt like I was getting out the shower every time I went outside.
It's still better in Florida.
Yeah, I was like, dude, this is Texas. Isn't this shit supposed to be dry and hot?
It depends, dude. Because if you go a little bit further west, I mean, it gets dry as shit. Like we went, we went to we drove through Texas to get to California, and like once you get a little bit further west of Houston, there's not shit out there but dry dirt, and it's all the way up into California.
When we flew over, I thought the same thing. I was like, man, dude, you can watch your dog run away for fucking 4 or 5
3 days. Yeah,
I mean,
no shit. It's flat.
I don't know if it was pecan fields or what it was, but it was just dry dirt.
Yeah,
that's fun.
I'm getting ready to go back through it again. We're planning a family road trip. So my little brother he just got onto the Space Force. Like for the longest time, I thought Space Force was just a meme or like a show on Netflix, but apparently it's a legit thing. So he's telling me, he's like, yeah, man, I got accepted into the Space Force. Well, he lives out in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and we've never had a chance to visit him. But I mean, he's kind of established there. He's got a house and everything off base. So we're planning like this family vacation in June of next year. So we're gonna carpool or road trip all the way out to Colorado Springs. But we're gonna go through, hit up. There's like a spring in Florida we're gonna hit up, and then we're gonna work our way out towards Texas. We're gonna hit up the NASA Visitor Center in Houston. Go out to some Big Bend Park or whatever, and kind of up into the Grand Canyon, and then Aztec National Park up in New Mexico, and then like right up into Colorado. So it's going to be a pretty
big old trip.
But it's going to be pretty neat driving back through Texas again, because I mean it's neat to see all that, like the elevation changes and everything. Like Florida's fucking sea level. Like I live probably 20 minutes from the highest point in the state of Florida, and it's 150 foot above sea level, and I'm sitting at 100 right where I'm at. So like my kids haven't really seen mountains or anything like that, other than like heading up to Ohio. We did a road trip one year to Ohio, but to be able to go out there and see the different landscapes and different cultures and temperatures and all that stuff, it's pretty neat to get out. But I still, for some reason, I like calling Florida home. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good place to live right now. So
well, yeah, there's that. I mean, we're pretty much wide open down here.
Yeah, we just went back into another shutdown, so we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah.
But
so since you live out in Vegas, do you ever get a chance to go to FabTech when it passes through?
I didn't even know what FabTech was until last year or so. Like I said, I've only been on Instagram for about a year and a half. So once I seen it and it was coming into town, I was like, dude, this is awesome. We could go and everything. Then they canceled on us. So,
dude, I was freaking stoked, because I've been to Atlanta, I've been to Chicago, and then when I hit up Chicago 2019, like everybody's telling me, oh yeah, this year's awesome, but like next year in Vegas is going to be freaking epic. So like as soon as they released the dates for it and everything, I was like, bought my airfare, bought my hotel, like everything was already reserved, and then all of a sudden they did the shutdown, and I was like, shit.
Yeah, and like I said, I was bummed out. The owner always gets us like the tickets to CES or SEMA or whatever if we want to go to something out here. And so he was all for it. He was like, yeah, Ryan, go check it out. I mean, we were in the market for a new machine, so he was trying to buy something off the floor or something like that. So he was all for it. And like I said, they pulled that rug out from under us and kind of sucked that it jumped all the way to Chicago.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'll end up going to one.
I'm going to Chicago this year, but it just depends on what their requirements are to get in there. Like right now, I've got to have a negative COVID test within 3 days of landing. So hopefully I can get that done, because like there's no COVID test to be found right now in the state of Florida. Like,
order it on Amazon.
Everybody's getting. Well, I don't know if. So they'd sell like an at-home test, but I don't know if they'll accept that. And I highly doubt that they will.
When the owner went back to Alaska, he had to actually have like a documented, actual.
Yeah, it's got to be like
from
legit
the hospital or something.
Yeah, it can't be like
it's not do it at home.
Yeah. So I'm hoping it just doesn't like get any more stringent, because I'm not. If it gets any more stringent than like having a negative COVID test, I'm probably not going to make it this year.
Yeah, I was wondering if they're going to do a mask mandate on it or something of that sort. I mean, I don't know. To each his own.
Yeah. And one way or the other, man, however you feel about it, like, do you. That's
exactly.
Yeah, just
so
do what makes you feel comfortable. I'm not against anybody. I'm not anti-mask or vaccine or any of that shit. Just, do whatever makes you feel comfortable, but don't restrict everybody else from being able to go out and do things.
Exactly. And it's kind of, now you're getting kind of, I don't know, people are getting aggressive about it now. So it's kind of just, I kind of try to avoid it all and just like, you know what?
It's been pretty lax over here for the most part, but like I said, I haven't done a whole lot of traveling. I'm going to Wisconsin. I fly out Friday to go to Tomahawk, Wisconsin. So I'm part of that crew collaborative, and it's like the nonprofit. So we're going up there to meet at the we got a board of directors meeting this weekend. So I'm heading up there. So it'd be kind of neat to go up there and kind of see what life's like up in Wisconsin. I think we're going to be out in the middle of BFE and out in the middle of the woods somewhere, because they're like, yeah, once we get on the resort, we're pretty much staying there. But we're staying at Case, like the manufacturers for all the Case heavy equipment and stuff like that. So that'll be pretty neat to kind of like get out once again, see how everything's going up there, and fly back. I don't know. It hasn't been too bad. It's sucked, sometimes, but for the most part, it hasn't been like, for me, from my point of view, it hasn't been too bad with a lot of things.
Yeah, like I said, we just went back under that mandate, and I mean, some businesses are enforcing it, some aren't, and it's just kind of as you go. I don't know. They're kind of putting it out there where they're going to want to require vaccines for any kind of indoor event, restaurant. So we'll see how that all plays out here.
Yeah, I seen they just did like Lollapalooza up in Chicago, but apparently everybody there was vaccinated. So I don't know, man. There was a lot of freaking people at that.
Yeah, it's weird how they say. I mean, like the amphitheater out here, if you're there, it's not a mask requirement. But if you go inside, everybody's packed in together anyways.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
We'll see. I'm hoping all this shit blows over within sooner rather than later.
Yeah, like I said, I'm glad my job was deemed essential. So
yeah,
there's a lot of people that took a hit out here.
I will tell you that so I don't know if it'll go to Atlanta next year, because I heard that they're planning on taking Atlanta out of the picture. I don't know if that's true 100%, but I think it's just gonna, because it rotates. It'll go from like Atlanta to Chicago to Vegas to Chicago and then back to Atlanta. So like Atlanta's every 3 years, but I think they were talking about pulling it out of Atlanta and just doing back and forth between Vegas and Chicago. I was really hoping that they would do like Orlando every third year, but from what I've been told, like they've considered Orlando in the past, because we got a massive convention center. But if everybody lands in Orlando, they're going to be over Disney and SeaWorld and Universal, and like nobody's going to make it to the event.
Yeah, they just did a big renovation here at the convention center. Now you get shuttled in by Teslas. So you don't even, it shuttles you between all the. Have you been to the convention center in Vegas?
I've never been to Vegas, and that's why I was like so stoked last year. I was like, hell yeah, I've never been to Vegas. Going to Vegas, I'm going to definitely going to go to FabTech, but I'm also, going to gamble and check out, the strip and all that other stuff.
Yeah, the convention center here is huge. When I went to SEMA one year, I got stuck in Tireland. I don't know what else to call it, but I was in there for an hour and a half trying to find the other side of the damn building. And then finally I got out and like, dude, that whole section was just tires.
Yeah.
It's massive. SEMA's huge out here. But like I said, it's cool. And then you're down on the strip and you're able to go and check out everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Me, myself, I like going downtown. It's kind of where the locals go instead of the overpriced strip.
Right.
So they put a lot of money back into downtown now, trying to get more people out there and everything. It's pretty neat down there.
Okay, so it's like downtown Vegas?
Yeah, downtown Vegas is Fremont. So that's where that big screen over the whole Fremont Road is at. It's down there, and then there's the actual strip, which has all the main casinos and everything on it.
Okay. Yeah, I've never been to Vegas. I've always wanted to go out there, but like, you know, I don't want to lose a bunch of money.
Now that could happen real quick too.
That's what I've heard. Like you could go in there and like lose it all real quick, or you know, you could walk home a winner.
Man, when I flew out to Mark's house last month, I think, and I was going through the airport, and I stopped, and I'm sitting there watching this chick gamble, and she hit about $45,000 on a penny machine in the middle of the airport.
Damn.
Shit, let me try it. $40 later, I was like, yeah, I'm getting the hell out of here. So
yeah,
but I couldn't believe it. I was like, I mean, like you said, sometimes you come out a winner, but you're gambling. Most time you're already in a hole.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's the thing, man. You gotta set a limit before you get in there.
Yeah, if I go out to a bar or something, I bring that much cash, no debit card, none of that. Just that's what I'm spending, and go from there.
Yeah, I've done the cruises down here in Florida. Like they got this Sun Cruise Casino, and you can go out and as soon as you hit international waters, you can gamble on that. I've done that once, but it's like, yeah, I take $80 with me. The drinks are free the whole time you're on the ship, so you know I'll cash it all in, and I'll just do like penny slots or you know nickel slots or whatever. But yeah, I'm not a big gambler.
No, like I say, I've lived out here. I've done watch people piss away all their money. So I'll do it every couple of weeks. Maybe I'll go out and have a couple of beers. Most of the time I gamble while I drink. So it's just kind of get a couple comp drinks, burn through $20-$30 and call it a night.
Yeah, that's not too bad. You gotta gamble responsibly, just like you drink responsibly.
Exactly. So like I say, it's a neat place to live.
Right.
Pricey, but it's different. There's a ton of tourists, so you always get a big cultural thing going on in here. So we have a ton of other. I mean, we got a little Chinatown. We got a little spot where a bunch of Ethiopian stuff popped up, and
okay,
it's neat.
So since the cost of living is a little bit higher over there, is like the wage scale for a welder, you know, pretty decent.
It's like you said, I make decent money, but I do a lot of other stuff other than just weld. I mean, I build the bikes, and I've been here for quite a while, so I got a kind of like a loyalty pay. But the other places out here, I don't know how the guys are making money getting paid the way they do. It's insane. It's almost like they're getting paid just like they're getting kids right out of school, and they throw them on a MIG line. They're like, hey, just zap these gates together. But they're actually doing intricate work, and it's like, dude, I don't see why the pay gap is so off here.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe because we weren't known for that much manufacturing, and it's just now coming in. Maybe it'll go up, but it's kind of hard to find a decent paying one.
I got you. Yeah, Florida's the same way, and like, I mean, we're pretty. I think Florida's like number 2 right now as far as it comes to manufacturing. But I've noticed a lot of, especially, and I think. I don't want to bring COVID back up again, but I think COVID is playing a role in, obviously, you know, people being deemed essential, which I think that's a bullshit term. Everybody's essential. Everybody's part of it, this big cog in the wheel and the economy and all that.
Exactly.
We can kind of see the you know what's left of, you know, people, you know, deeming people essential, but employers are starting to pay more. It's becoming more and more competitive. And
they can't find people that want to come back to work.
Exactly. So I think that, you know, and it's just like the price of like lumber and steel and materials and stuff like that. It's skyrocketed up, and it's not going to come back down to where it was. It's going to be cheaper than what it is now. I can damn near guarantee that. But it's going to be the same thing with wages, because I've noticed employers are hiring at a much higher rate. And then once everything comes back to normal, it's not like they're going to drop that back down. You know, they're not going to hire you in at 22, 23 an hour and then be like, oh, okay, you know, like the pandemic's over, we're going to bust you down to 16. So, I mean, like, it's a damn good time to find a job right now, at least in Central Florida.
Yeah, like I said, it's sketchy the way they're working and everything. Because in Vegas, I mean, a lot of people lost their jobs when the whole shutdown happened, because most of everybody works at the Strip. So, I mean, that all cut out. But these guys are making more money on unemployment than they were at their jobs, so no one wants to go back.
Yeah. I think all that's
same
coming
with
to
the
an
welders.
End. Yeah. I think that's going to come to an end real quick, and people are going to be like, shit, got to get back to work.
Yeah, and I mean, my little brother, before he started here with me, he was making more money on unemployment than what he got paid here. And I told him, I was like, dude, this is something you can learn. You can take it on with you and everything. I was like, if you want to sit on unemployment, go for it. That's you. But if you want to learn something and actually get a skill that you can go and apply to other places when you know, after you get decent at it, come here and work with me. I'll show you.
Right.
I mean,
so are you teaching him to weld now?
Yeah, he's catching on. I mean, it's hard to get thrown right into aluminum and trying to tack into billet pieces.
That's what I was going to say, man. Like, you started off with aluminum. It's like, you know, fuck the training wheels. Here you go.
Yeah, and the first time I did any DC welding was the beginning of this year. And I set up the machine. I went to go do some stainless and stuff. I set it up thinking I'm welding aluminum. I'm going to put it up all high. I burnt the shit out of these dudes' parts. And I'm, what the hell am I going to do? So once I got it all figured out, I told them, hey, I botched 2 of them. I'll do the run of your parts for you at no cost. But, hey, I thought I was going to be able to do something that I obviously wasn't ready for. But once I got the hang of it, I was like, oh, I mean, DC wasn't as bad as I thought.
Yeah. It's a little bit more.
A lot of the aluminum traits carry over. It took a little bit of tuning the machine to not burning up stuff versus.
Yeah. I think steel's a little bit more forgiving than aluminum because you can lose control on aluminum really quick just because thermal expansion and heat and all that other stuff. It's like you could screw aluminum up real quick. But then again, you know, if you're running too high of an amps, you can screw up steel and stainless. You can ruin stainless pretty damn quick.
Yeah, the parts I had were stainless, so got them, and I was like, well, this is what I'll run if it was aluminum. I was up at like 130 amps. I should have been more at like 55.
Yeah.
So, and I learned it the hard way, and I'm like, dude, what am I doing wrong? I went and watched some YouTube videos, asked a couple people on Instagram. They're like, dude, you're doing that backwards. Take it down some and get a bigger cup. So I was running a number 5 cup on it, thinking I was gonna do something, but yeah, it was pretty bad.
Right. So who'd you end up reaching to? Like you talked about Mark Winchester, but who else did you reach out into Instagram community? Because I'm like huge on the Instagram community, and I try to push and promote it just because everybody's so willing to help. So like you said, you weren't big on Instagram, and then you start reaching out to people for help.
Yeah. Hill Welding was another one. The guy, the kid that does all the exhaust. I don't know if you follow him. He does a ton of titanium work and stainless. He does some super killer work, and he's the one that kind of helped me with the stainless. I've talked to Eli Latin a couple times from Latin Precision. I actually met him when I went out to Mark's last time. And that dude, he's a wizard at that chromoly. So, and then I mean, just random accounts. I would ask questions if I seen them running something, but those 3 guys were the main one that I kind of reached out to, and Mark kind of took me under his wing, and he's helped me a lot improve on welding aluminum. So. Yeah,
Mark's a badass when it comes. Like, if you want to know what aluminum welding is supposed to look like, go check out Mark Winchester's profile. That dude is insane.
Seeing his work on a picture is nothing in real life. I mean, you go and look at it in real life, you're like, dude, it's. And he's so casual and fluent with it. I mean, he'll sit there and hold the whole conversation, and he's welding up one of them valve covers. It's perfect. I mean, you can't find anything wrong with it. And when I first met him, he came pick me up from the airport. I get in, I'm like, all right, he looks like a mountain man, full on beard, everything right. We're rolling up the side of this mountain. I'm like, where the hell is this dude taking me? And I mean, his cabin's way up there. So I was like, is he going to kill me on the side of the road, or what the hell's going on? So, but he ended up being a super cool dude. His family's awesome. And he like I said, he kind of took me under the wing and was showing me how to actually get some welding done. So
that's really cool, man. Where's he? What state is he located in?
He's in Northern California.
Okay.
So he's up there with all those freaking fires right now. So
that's yeah.
Hopefully it's working
year,
out
man,
for him. So
every year that place it's insane with the fires.
Yeah. I when I was up there, when I went last time, I got into Reno to fly out, and they laid over our plane 14 hours every time it flew in from Vegas. It couldn't land because of the smoke out there, and it took forever to get home on a 1-hour flight. But like I said, it was all the smoke and everything from all those fires. It's crazy how that it lights up out there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I've heard Northern California is beautiful. I never had a chance to visit. Like, I think think the furthest north I've ever been is 29 Palms, California. But I mean, that's still not north enough. I mean, I could see the mountain ridge and all that stuff. That was pretty cool because like it was snowing up there. But I haven't really been much further north than that.
Yeah, like I said, he lives quite a ways up there. So first time I went out in December, so we had snow out there. And then the last time was about a month ago. So it's cool going out there with him. And too, like I said, he lives in a cabin. He's sitting there welding. He got deer coming up to the window, and I mean, it's amazing up there. And then, like I said, just to work and learn from him I really lucked out.
Yeah,
I'm kind of glad he took a liking to me. So
it's like the master of freaking aluminum welding right there.
He is. He's damn good. I mean, that's kind of what I want to push towards is something like him. He's up there.
Yeah, he's an artist with it.
Yeah, I mean, he even helped me dial in the magnesium, as I would just send him pictures, and I mean, he would tell me, "Hey, do this, do that," send a picture and see what it looks like. And I was like, "Oh, okay." So did that, and we went through it, and he ended up helping me tune that all up. And just like I said, over pictures. I mean, the guy not only is a phenomenal welder, he's so in tune with how to tune these machines and the gases and all that. Yeah.
No, he's definitely a wizard with it.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Go ahead and plug all your social medias and stuff. Let people know where they can find you, check out your work. You guys got to check out his Instagram profile. He builds some really cool stuff. All of his welds are on point. Go ahead and plug your socials.
Yeah, so I do Instagram only. It's RDA_fabrication. And that's about it. Like I said, I don't really do too much social media. Got into this Instagram stuff for to link with welders, honestly. So
it's a great industry, man. Like a great resource and stuff. And I'll tell you another one is, believe it or not, LinkedIn. The welding community on LinkedIn is actually pretty decent.
Yeah, I've heard that on your podcast a couple times. I kind of looked into it. Like I said, I'm not too tech savvy. I mean, I was kind of worried about how to open up the Zoom thing before you got to go, and I was like, oh, it's just a button. So, well, I had to download that too.
I try to make it super simple because, like, I'm talking to welders. I'm a welder, so like, if I can figure it out, y'all can figure it out. If not, I can send me a picture. I'll walk you through it.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, I've just started using emails and all this shit. I kind of lived under a rock for a while, and now it's kind of the technology's going towards where you got to learn how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to figure out how to use CAD programs and all this, because I mean, we do that here. We prototype a lot of parts with a 3D printer, and then we'll go and actually get the pieces machined out and everything. So
I'm looking forward to see where welding's going to be in the next 5 to 10 years, because I mean, they're already coming out with Bluetooth accessories, so it's not going to be long before you got to hook your welding machine up to Wi-Fi and shit.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the Bluetooth ground. I mean, once that comes out,
the Bluetooth ground, if you can come out with a Bluetooth ground, dude, you can retire. Like the day that you come out and you done. Once that works, you can retire.
Yeah, I mean, because right now I'm running a pedal that's Bluetooth, and you'll get the lag from actual like a wired pedal to that Bluetooth pedal.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm working around so many jigs, having an extra wire, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I kind of took the delay over tripping over a wire or running it over with the jig and splitting it. And so a lot of my work is done on the jigs. I don't do a ton of bench work, but I mean, it helps learning how to weld out of position and all that stuff. And it actually, I think that's the way to learn it, instead of being able to just kind of weld coupons up and run flats all day and then get thrown out into a weld job. And it's like, dude, this isn't what I was taught. Yeah. So kind of got thrown in the ideal situation of where to learn.
Mm-hmm. Well, nice.
So
it was awesome having you on the podcast. I mean, I definitely appreciate you taking the time to come out and chat with us, kind of share your experience around aluminum and the stuff that you do, especially helping out, disabled people, the veteran community. That's something near and dear to my heart. So I appreciate the work that you do, and I know that it's making an impact on people.
Oh yeah, like I said, that's the best part of this job. I mean, the welding's rewarding, but being able to change people's lives, it's what really keeps me going here. So, like I said, the bikes aren't cheap, so I try to make them look halfway decent.
Oh, definitely. Well, cool, man. I appreciate it.
All right, yep, thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this week's episode of the ARC Junkies Podcast. You can find me on Instagram at ARC Junkies Podcast. you can email me directly, show@arcjunkies.com. Don't forget to swing by arcjunkies.com for all the cool merchandise, hats, shirts, and hoodies to represent your favorite podcast. Thanks again for downloading, and until next time, make every weld better than your last.